The Baltimore Orioles are well on their way to another 100-loss season. And at this point, it's really just considered another typical season. This will be the Orioles' third straight season of losing at least 100 games. So clearly, things in Baltimore haven't looked good in a very long time. In fact, the last time the Orioles did make the postseason was back in 2016 when they lost to the Blue Jays in the wild card, where they made the infamous decision to not put Zach Britton in the game. And at the time, Britton was undoubtedly the league's best closer. I mean, Britton was legitimately in the American League Cy Young conversation, and that is just unheard of from a reliever. That year, in 67 innings, Britton had a .54 ERA, and he locked down 47 saves for Baltimore. And at this point, you're probably wondering who was pitching instead of Zach Britton at the time. Well, let's just say it wasn't a great pitcher. It was Ubaldo Jimenez, who was clearly past his prime and not what he once was, as that year in 2016 he had a 5.44 earned run average. So he really had no business being in that game at that time. And I personally remember watching this game. I was losing my mind, as were all baseball fans, because you just don't put your season on the line with a 5.44 earned run average pitcher when you have someone in the bullpen ready to pitch who was a legitimate Cy Young contender. So that was really just the beginning of the end for Baltimore. The following year in 2017, Baltimore went 75-87, and many of their former stars were aging at this point. They had Chris Tillman, who was their ace for many years, getting up there in age, Adam Jones, Matt Wieters, Chris Davis, all these guys just leaving their prime. And they did have a budding superstar in Manny Machado, but they just didn't surround him with any talent whatsoever at this point. Now in 2018 is where things get very bad. They finished the season at 47-115, and they clearly had no direction at this point. Manny Machado was obviously unhappy at this point, as he was entering his prime and the Orioles were just nowhere near contention. The following year in 2019, Machado would get dealt to the Los Angeles Dodgers at the trade deadline. So now that all of their prime players were pretty much out of their prime and Manny Machado was dealt to LA, they really had no one left. And in that 2019 season where they traded Machado, they ended up finishing 54-108. Now, as awful as a season as it was, this was a step up from 2018. They won 7 more games, but were still clearly far from contention. Fast forward to 2020, and the Baltimore Orioles were still not competitive at all. While they did finish 25-35 in the shortened 60-game season, they were still clearly, as many people saw, not a competitive team. And coming into this current 2021 season, things were still looking down for Baltimore. They had a couple decent players like John Means, Anthony Santander, Trey Mancini, but there was really no superstars on this roster and really no talent to be found outside of these guys. And this season has really just been more of what we've seen the past couple seasons. Right now they are 38-83 with the worst record in all of baseball. And right now they are in the midst of a 16-game losing streak. And the way Baltimore is playing right now, they just don't even seem like they're trying out there. I wouldn't be surprised to see this losing streak exceed 20 games. I mean, whenever a team sees Baltimore on their schedule, they're pretty much looking at 3 free wins because, like I said before, the Orioles just don't look like they're even trying out there. They're not fielding together good lineups. I mean, I know they don't have talent, but it just seems like they're not putting themselves in the right position to win, and it just feels like at this point they're competing to be the worst team in baseball. And on top of the worst record in baseball, Baltimore also has the worst run differential. They have been outscored by their opponents this year by 230 runs. Just to give you an idea of how bad that is, the next worst team is the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have a negative 187 run differential. That is a difference of 43 runs. The Orioles are just atrocious, and things just don't look like they're going to be going up anytime soon. And that's something you don't just see from a team that's been so bad for so long. Many people on paper would look at the Orioles' record the past couple seasons and would think to themselves, yeah, things have to be looking up and they have to be at least somewhat competitive going forward. But with the Orioles, that's just not the case. They do have 5 top 100 prospects, and this includes the number 1 prospect in all of baseball in Adley Rutschman, number 8 Grayson Rodriguez, number 78 DL Hall, number 80 Gunnar Henderson, and number 83 Colton Cowser. So yes, you could argue they have a bright future, but in my opinion, these guys aren't going to be turning the Orioles around immediately. With the way the Orioles roster looks right now, they would need like 20 top 100 prospects to even have a chance of competing next season. And in my opinion, I think the target for the Orioles has to be 2023 to maybe get to like competitive-ish, like 500, but I think 2024 is the realistic goal for this team to actually be looking at postseason baseball. But I guess the Orioles do have some excitement going forward. I know they're not going to probably be competitive, but like I said, they have the top prospect in baseball, 2 top 10 prospects. They have the number 8 prospect in Grayson Rodriguez as well. So there is some excitement there, but they're still not going to be competitive. And real quick, before I wrap the video up, I want to give a shout out to Cedric Mullins this year, who is a legit MVP candidate. Now, I know he won't win it because obviously he's on the worst team in baseball, but this guy is putting together a great season and he deserves a ton of credit. And Trey Mancini as well. This guy has been through so much over the past year and he has pushed through and, you know, still been a very good player this year. He competed in the home run derby, did very well in that, and he's had a very productive season this year. So really big props to Trey Mancini for what he's done. And also, I just want to say, I kind of feel bad for the Baltimore Orioles and their fans because I understand their pain. As a Rockies fan, nothing looks good for us going forward. I know we're not bad this season, but similar to the Orioles, we just don't really have that much of a future. So I sort of understand the pain here for all these Orioles fans. And I feel bad for the team in general. I don't really mind the Orioles. I think they're a fun team to watch when they're competitive. I love their stadium, one of the best stadiums in all of baseball. And I think Baltimore fans just deserve better going forward. And I'm really hoping I'm wrong with my predictions about them being competitive not until 2024. I hope that's next season, but I really just don't see it. But hey, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope they are competing soon again because Baltimore really deserves a good baseball team. Anyways, that is going to wrap the video up today. Wanted to give some thoughts here on Baltimore because they're playing atrocious right now. I wanted to talk about them and how I feel about them going forward and just my general thoughts on this team. But anyways, if you guys enjoy the content, hit that subscribe button. I post plenty of baseball videos over here and I'm going to continue to do so going forward. And as always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.